In the spirit of Sankofa, I'm here today to urge us all to go back for something we've almost forgotten. And that is the importance of nature, the value of nature, the need for nature in our everyday lives, and especially in the lives of children. Let me ask a question. I can see a number of you with these lights the way they are right now. Let me find out how many of you, when you were children, had someone say something like this to you, something like this. Go out and play, and don't come home till it's dark. Close, huh? All right. Well, for so many children today, that's not their experience. They're spending time hooked into what I sometimes refer to as the electronic umbilical. They're spending on average now, it's an increase of 5 hours per week in the last 5 years. They're spending almost 70 hours a week hooked into electronics, whether it's a handheld device, a computer screen, a television, whatever it might be. So there are changes in childhood that are actually putting our children at risk. And that's not what any of us have in mind as an optimal way for children to thrive, to learn, to grow. So nature, something as basic as getting outdoors to play, to learn, to turn over rocks, those kinds of things, that's a big part of what nourished most of us in this room and isn't as available, even though it's right outdoors for children today. And it's with all of the best of intentions that parents and teachers and other caregivers are organizing our children's time. There's a metaphor that's going around right now. I didn't coin this, but some people refer to helicopter parents versus hummingbird parents. And so that helicopter is right over top, making sure that everything is there. You can look down, you can see everything that's going on. Versus, again, I didn't coin this, but I like it, the hummingbird concept, where that hummingbird parent is back, wings beating furiously, can see the child, but only swoops in if there's something that puts that child at risk. There's much we can learn from the natural world. But let's go to, again, the notion of the changes in childhood. Some of the evidence that I look at, I like the notion of standing on the evidence as well as what we can all call common sense. So looking at the data, looking at what the scholars might say to us about all of this, there are indicators of this disconnect that I'll draw upon. Let me say for a moment that a colleague of mine, one that I'm now working with, is the author Richard Louv. One of his books is outside today. It's called Last Child in the Woods, Saving Our Children from Nature Deficit Disorder. Rich coined that phrase. He'd be the first to say that's not a medical diagnosis. It's a description of changes in childhood that have occurred really in the last 30 or 40 years. I met Rich after having read that book, which came out initially in 2005. I met him in 2005, having read it cover to cover and marking it up, and did not know him, but I reached out to him to ask him if he would come speak at a conference that I was helping to organize in North America that was focused on some of these changes in childhood. So he came and he spoke, and we had a conversation in which he said to me, I think there's a need for what you in Canada refer to as a new public charity, what we in the United States would call a nonprofit, what people around the world refer to as a non-governmental organization. So a need for a new one of those. And I said, Rich, I'm not so sure we need yet another one of those at all on the planet. He said, no, Cheryl, this will be different. This will be a network of networks, and we will work together to reverse the trends of these last 30 and 40 years in which children are growing to be so sedentary They're at risk of obesity. They're at risk of being severely overweight. We can reverse these trends. So I had no need to run yet another public charity, but I was compelled by this worldwide need to reconnect children with nature in their everyday lives for their health and well-being and that of the planet itself. Let me say quickly, this is not about nostalgia. This is not about turning the clock back. This is about going forward with a gift so precious that it will invigorate the lives of everyone, including children, who most need to have this essential grounding for their health and well-being, and again, from that connection, for the long-term health of the planet itself. So we formed, Rich and I and some others, an organization called the Children and Nature Network, and it does have an international reach. You have one in Canada that is a partner of ours, and it's called the Child and Nature Alliance. Richard Louv, who I've named my partner and co-founder of the Children and Nature Network, is actually the co-chair in Canada of the Child and Nature Alliance with your living treasure, the artist Robert Bateman. So there are many of us throughout the world, including those of you in Canada, who care about this issue greatly and are working hard to try to reverse the trends. Parks Canada is another example of one of your leaders here in this nation who is committed to really inspiring a new generation to get outdoors, to learn, to play, to grow, and out of that connection to be more likely to grow, to make informed decisions, to care for the earth. So a few more of the data points that just would reinforce any of us being able to go out and say, this is important, let's make this a priority. My husband used to say something like, this is the newest 5,000-year-old idea. It's not as if this is a brand new invention. It is something that has been a characteristic of childhood throughout all of human history. So some of the indicators of the disconnect, I've already addressed the idea of the increasing use of technology as really a dominant form of children's experience. There was a study done of children in 16 nations that was released a few years ago out of Yale, and when asked, how do children spend most of their free time, the answer was watching television. Today, it'll be any number of those electronic devices. I'm seeing, and you probably are too, but in restaurants, you go out these days and every child has got like an iPad or an iPhone, and it's just this electronic babysitter. Let me say quickly, I'm not against technology at all. There are enormous benefits that come from all of these kinds of tools. The thing to think about is really, again, children's overall health and well-being. So looking at the increased use of the electronics, again, close to 70 hours a week on average for 8 to 18-year-olds, an obesity epidemic that is worldwide as well, and this affects children not just in highly developed countries, but in emerging economies as well. In some communities, the obesity or overweight rate is as high as 50%. The national average in the US and in Canada is around 30%. You see children simply not active and not moving when the American Academy of Pediatrics and others recommend at least 1 to 2 hours of active physical play a day. So we can see the disconnect, we can see the impacts. One of the questions I find most poignant, I have talked with longtime teachers and longtime nurses, and I'll say, what have you seen as changes in childhood in the last 20 or 30 years? And they will often say to me, a diminished lack of confidence, a lack of confidence in children's own creativity. A school nurse said, when we go outside for recess, where recess is still being allowed, since in many circumstances recess has been taken away so that the kids don't lose any time that they need focused on practicing for their tests, as it were, she said they don't know how to invent their own games. They don't know how to make up games. using, again, their own creativity. All of that's inherent in childhood. All of that is something that we can turn around for children. So let's go to the benefits to children from these kinds of opportunities to both in guided activities, as we might do in school settings, and in unstructured opportunities where kids can invent what they're doing on their own, turning over rocks, feeling the breezes, damming up a little rivulet, a stream, whatever it might be. The benefits to kids are cognitive, they're emotional, they're physical. They enhance their creativity, they encourage their collaboration and cooperation with others. They simply benefit kids in every way. 26% increase in standardized test score results when kids are allowed to learn in context. I worry about our armchair scholars who learned so much in the virtual world that they don't learn as much from direct experience. So we should all feel confident that to encourage children to go outdoors and play and learn in the natural world is not a waste of time. I was speaking to a group of parents at a private school relatively recently, and one of the dads said, "Oh, I get it, we just need to structure that unstructured time." Okay, that works, whatever we can do, but most important to realize that this is not a waste of time. It's an inherent part of a child's right to thrive, to grow, to really flourish in every sense. So I've said already, this is actually a worldwide issue. The Children and Nature Network with our website, it's just childrenandnature.org, I've been tracking our visitors. I get emails literally every day from people in other parts of the world saying, thank you for what you're doing. We appreciate the resources. I haven't mentioned this yet, but the research I'm citing, we make it really available and free for download from our website so that people can see summaries, but they also can get access to the full reports and studies that may be of help or benefit. So looking at how many people from other nations are coming to the website and how many nations are represented, 160 nations a year ago, and now it's up to 214 in just less than a year's time. And people from more than 100 countries are downloading some of the resources, the publications that we've created and developed. So this is a worldwide issue. There's much hope involved in all of it. These are some of the resources that I've been mentioning that you can find on the Children and Nature Network website. A couple of new ones that are especially for families are now translated into French, into Spanish, and into both simple and traditional Chinese, really designed to encourage families to get outdoors together, and resources for teachers, obviously, as well. I referred to this book, Last Child in the Woods. I think it's an enormously helpful resource. Rich is an artful writer. I have worried about this issue for decades, and many, many people have. This book, however, gave us a new voice. And it's one that I recommend that you not only read, if you've read it already, terrific, share it with others. childrenandnature.org. Let me stop here for a moment. This is my grandson. He's barely a year and a half old. He was 15 months old in this photo. I took this photo of him very recently in the woods outside of his home in Vermont. He demonstrates every day the benefits that do come in a child's optimal, healthy development by being able to get outdoors and just, learn how to take risks, learn how to navigate, scooting down a bank and trying to make it a slide, all the kinds of things that allow a child to grow in confidence and take appropriate risks are the benefits that are coming to him. My grandfather, a long time ago, taught me the word ecology before it was in common parlance in anyone's vocabulary. And he was talking about how all parts are connected in any living ecosystem. When I think about the ecology of hope, I think about the importance of reconnecting children with nature in their everyday lives. I think about caring for communities, getting to know our neighbors, creating the places and spaces where we can feel safe and connected to one another outdoors, again, as we gain the benefits, calm ourselves down, take a moment of rest and respite, and just find ourselves refreshed. We can also be intentional about designing for life, making sure we have nearby pockets of nature all around for people to enjoy and to learn from, and to, again, refresh in and play in. And finally, we can keep hope alive. Children deserve a right to a happy, healthy childhood. Children throughout the world. And one of the easiest, least cost ways for all of us to do this is to open the door and go outside. And where we have neighborhoods that may be crime-ridden, we can go up. There are rooftop gardens that are creating fabulous, safe, intriguing places of beauty for people, again, of all ages. There's so much we can do. You can help by making it a priority, by spreading the word. It's not a waste of time. It's good for everyone. The scholar Jeffrey Sachs wrote recently, "Let the future say of our generation that we sent forth mighty currents of hope and that we worked together to heal the world." I want us to work together to give children back their childhood and to let them thrive and grow and flourish with nature in their everyday lives. Thank you all.